what is going to be my contribution in reducing corruption.
Yes, ma'am. And what are the factors to remove the corruption from our nation?
I'll tell you what are the factors. Tomorrow, when you...
And what will be your contribution on both questions?
Yeah. So, you're asking me, why do you have corruption in the first place? I mean,
No, ma'am.
Can you...
What will be your contribution?
This is my question to you.
Yes.
Why do we have corruption? What do you think? Greed of who? Of Prime Minister?
No. I think all these sectors, all...
It's not even to become rich. You know, there are so many rich people who are corrupt. I mean, how much do you need in life, yeah? So, yeah. So, what was your first question? I'm sorry.
What will be your contribution, ma'am?
Yeah, apart from that?
Regarding the corruption. You are not going to become an IAS officer. Okay, what will you contribute to our nation that you can remove the corruption from our respective nation?
Okay. When you say that, I'm going to come and remove corruption, this reminds me of something that my husband told me when I started preparing. He said there's no need to become an IAS officer because even if you become an IAS officer, it's not like you can remove corruption in the world. Right? So this is like saying that I should not educate Chandrika because obviously I cannot educate everybody in the world. Right? So when we tell people that you have to remove corruption and how will you remove corruption, I can ask you the same question. You know, it's not my job to remove corruption, it's also your job, first of all.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, how do all of us contribute in removing corruption? By first of all becoming uncorrupt ourselves, right? So, if I am an IAS officer and I go there and somebody comes and tells me that, madam, please give me the contract and I will make your child study in an international school. This is not corruption, is it?
Yes, it is corruption.
It's not explicitly corruption. He did not give me an explicit bribe, but it is a bribe nevertheless, right? So now, if I have a child and I want my child to be educated in international school and I'm not getting an admission, then I'll be like, let me give the contract to him. I mean, how does it matter anyway? So it's always your personal ideas. I have been to a place, I went to Gadchiroli and I met this man who had left his job in US. 10 years he worked in US. He left his job and he came to Gadchiroli. He was a neurologist. His son studied in an international school in US, and you know where his son studies now? In a tribal school in Gadchiroli. I've seen that son, and my idea of education is completely different from what a normal person's idea of education should be. So if I have an office, I would know that my personal ideal does not allow me to compromise on my integrity. Right? There's a difference between honesty and integrity. Honesty is when you say that I'm honest. Integrity is when you're incorruptible. No matter what happens in life, you don't budge. You don't budge. Right? So, and that starts from the very inside of your own self. Don't think that corruption in India is a component of corrupt civil servants. Corruption in India is because of all of us. At a lot of points in life, you wouldn't have even realized that when you actually go give bribe to a public servant, you are actually contributing to corruption in a way. I know that you cannot, if it's taking time for you, a lot of rich people actually give money to public servants to get their work done faster. Why? Because they don't like standing in lines. Right? I'm not saying that the person who accepts bribes is good in any way, or if it's kind of correct in any manner. But what I'm saying is that you have to be very stern. So if I am in a public office and you ask me how would you weed out corruption, my point is that you start from the very basic. If you are the head of, Bhushan says the head of international business in School of Management, his job is not to weed out corruption from the world. His job is to weed out corruption from School of Management first. That is where you start. And to start from there, he starts with himself. Right? So whoever comes to me or whoever comes and tells me that I'm going to do this and in favor of this, I will give you that, you say no. It's a very simple thing. I mean, I don't think I need to write an essay type question to tell you what is going to be my contribution towards corruption. Right? I'm an upright person. I'm a person who has personal ideals, and as long as I decide to stick to those ideals, I would not be corrupt. That I can assure you. I can assure you that my subordinates will not be corrupt. I can assure you that a bit of my seniors will also not be corrupt. But then to have a corruption-free country will also require all of you to not be corrupt. right? That's very important. That's the most important part. A country is not made of civil servants. A country is made of its citizens, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, sure. I'm here for $5 if you want to.
Good evening, ma'am. Myself, Nagarjuna.
What is your name?
Nagarjuna, madam.
What was your name?
Shan Mohan. Shan.
Ma'am,
Nagarjuna.
what is the tricky question you faced in the interview?
Oh God.
Because in interview is the means written prelims and written 90% will complete. But many of the engineers or whoever fails in the interview only. Yes.
That's not kind of true because mains has 7 exams that are marked. Every exam is. Do you want to ask something else? You can. Why don't you sit and ask? I don't like you standing there. So yeah.
Another question is, I have a role model in my life, and he is a revolutionary, Che Guevara. When I went for an interview, that interview asked about him. What I know about him, I said. But having a revolutionary as a role model, he doesn't like me.
Not your problem at all.
So, is it required for me to change?
Of course not. Come on. Not at all. You have look. I don't know who this revolutionary is.
Che Guevara. Che.
Okay. That guy.
Yeah.
The South America guy.
Yeah. So that.
No, I mean it's completely okay. But a lot of people have him as their idol. He's a very famous man. Okay, first I'll answer your second question first. You don't need to change for anybody in this world unless you want to change for yourself. If an exam doesn't accept you in the way you are, then loss of UPSC. I always used to tell people, if they don't want to take me in, India is going to face the loss. I don't care, right? So you have so many multiple things that you can do in life if they don't take you. Let them not take you. What do you think about it? Do you think you should change? Do you think you should change?
No.
Why should you change then? There's no need to change for anybody.
Many
But at the same time, if you have very strong views about something, if you have extreme views, as I said, don't make yourself an extremist or a prejudiced person.
The way
That's
I
all.
see him as.
I mean, if you like him, don't go around declaring war for countries. Right? Don't do that. Don't become him. It's look. There's a lot of difference. You might like me today, and you might tell people tomorrow that she's my role model. But I'm just your role model for the kind of qualities I'm portraying here. You don't know me. Okay? If you knew me well enough, probably you wouldn't have liked me. So what you know about somebody in the public domain, there are a lot of things that firstly are not out there in the public domain. For a lot of people that we revere today, that's one. Secondly, when you like somebody as a role model, you like some of the properties that they have, right? So you might like that he's very courageous, right? And he decided that what is wrong and he's not going to take it. And that is the kind of human being that you want to become. So you imbibe that from that man, right? And when somebody asks you that why is he your role model, tell him that he's my role model because of all these things. And if that person does not want to accept that, God bless that person. Just keep that in your head. That you're fine. There's no problem with you. Okay. What did I face in my mock interview? I gave 6 mock interviews before I went for my final, and my final was nothing like any of those 6. I had 5 people take my interview for around 35 to 40 minutes, and I had a rapid fire round in the end. In UPSC interview especially, there is a very high premium on saying I don't know. What does that display? That you're an honest human being. So a sir actually asked me that, Mithali, are you interested in history? And I said, I just read history for UPSC. And he said, so do you read biographies? I said, no. And then he said, have you read a biography that is written for Mahatma Gandhi by somebody? I said, no. And then he said, have you read the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi? I said, no. And then he looks at me, he just looks up and he's like, oh my God, what should I ask her? I don't know if that's what he felt like, but that's how they create stress in your mind. that ultimately you say yes, I've read it. But those people have been sitting there from the past 30 years. They can find out right, left and center if you're lying. Right? So, I said yes, and I was very happy in my interview. To be very honest with you, people always dream of becoming IAS officers. When I started my preparation, my only dream was to sit in front of 5 people and give the interview. I was so happy when I cleared my mains that I was like, my God, this is a dream come true. I used to imagine that I was giving interview to 5 people. So I was so happy actually sitting there. And then after that guy asked me something, I had a rapid fire in the end. The sir asked me, Mithali, we have the best moments of you on paper here. What's your worst moment of life? And it was so spontaneous, that question. If I ask you suddenly, Nagarjuna, what's the worst moment of your life? It'll take a while for you to recollect, right? And I started saying something and he said, you have 2 seconds. And I just said something. He was not interested in listening to what I was saying. The moment I said one line, he said, and what did you learn from it? So I said something. Then he didn't listen to that also. He said, what's happening in Middle East nowadays? Why is it called Middle East? So I said something. Then he cut me. And then he said, but what is the problem? Give me 3 reasons. 1, 2, 3, I'll count. So I said something, 3 reasons. And then he said, GDP was revised last year. So who publishes GDP? And then I said Central Statistical Organization. And he said, okay, but it was revised. Do you think that's a good move? And I said that something was published. Yeah, something was published, but intelligent minds form opinions. I'm talking to an intelligent person. What's your opinion on it? And I said something. And then he said, but how do you know? And I was like, in my mind, I was like, what is happening? He was not listening to anything that I was saying. And in the end, he asked me a very good question. I'm so glad that he asked me that question because that was the best part. He said, because I was smiling so much, I'm telling you, I was so happy to be there. And he said, a lot of people come to interviews so happy, so smiling, but once you become an administrator, the last thing you see on anybody's face is a smiley. So what's your opinion on that? And I said, sir, it's the same thing that's said for doctors. I haven't lost my smile until now, so I don't think I'm going to lose it as an administrator. That was the last question that I had. And, I knew that that was a good question, and I actually gave a good answer to that question. I didn't fumble, and I was not scared at all. You don't have to get scared. Why should you be scared? When you enter an interview, you should always remember that you've made it there. They are not doing a favor to you. You've made it there. So they are being paid to listen to you, right? So you have to go with that confidence. And it's very important. Only after you clear exams and you come on the other side of it, do you realize how important all these qualities, all of this confidence is, and why are people asked to be a certain way when they go for interviews. So I think it's very important to practice interviews, very, very important, because if you just go and sit there, then you're always going to be anxious. It is something you should be anxious about. There's in psychology was my optional. There's always a stress curve. You shouldn't ever be less stressed also. There's an optimal level of stress where you perform your best. So that optimal level of stress you should have. Right?
Yeah, one last. Yes.
I answer to.
Bindu.
Ma'am, actually I want to know how to deal with current affairs, because for the past 2 years current affairs have become very important.
Yeah.
And is it required to go through Hindu newspapers regularly, or can we refer some sites like Civil Stage or Insights?
Hindu, right? Hindu.
Bindu.
Hindu.
Bindu. Okay. There was a movie recently, Meri Pyari Bindu. Okay, right. So you don't have to read current affairs. You don't have to read the newspaper every day, not at all. The Hindu is not written for civil service aspirants. Please remember that. They don't write the newspaper for you.
That's the editorial page.
Yeah. So I was coming to that. What I used to do was, before I went for my job in the morning, I would read the editorials. So you can do this in your bed. I'm sure all of you sleep with the phone around. Yes, all of you sleep with the phone around. The first thing you reach to in the morning is phone. So the first app that you should open in your phone is Hindu. Okay? Open the Hindu app, and when you're in bed, just read the editorials. And you'll see slowly Let me tell you, when I started my preparation, it used to take me 9 hours to finish the newspaper. 9 hours. I carried the newspaper with me to SRM, where I was the professor, and I used to carry it back at 3 o'clock. So, and yet I would not have finished the paper. So, and slowly, in my third year, it used to take me 1 hour to read the paper. So that is how your reading speed increases, you know what to read, and you know a certain amount of things. So, read the editorials, that's very important, because a lot of people write beautifully in the Hindu. In fact, a lot of times you will also have people who are your favorite authors. So it's very important that you read their articles. If there's some political gossip, skip that. If there's an article on how BJP is going to perform in elections, around election time there's a lot of non-specific gossip, political gossip coming in editorials also. So you're not supposed to read that. But every day, you know there's a editorial page on the left where you have 2 small editorials. That is the most important part. Okay. Other things also, if there are good articles, they develop an analytical thinking ability, which is very important for mains. So, and plus, every day, the most interesting part of your preparation is the newspaper. Everything else is boring because they're books. Every day, your syllabus is increasing by one newspaper. So, start your day with that, read the editorials, and then you use Civils Daily or Insights on India for your current affairs preparation. I never read the Hindu regularly. I could not. Because I was working, I was not allowed sometimes to bring an atlas in the college. I was not allowed to bring the newspaper in the college. It doesn't look nice if I'm sitting in the hospital. You won't like a doctor who's sitting and reading a newspaper in the hospital, right? So I used to read daily current affairs from Insights. And a very good thing with Insights is they actually collate current affairs from a lot of places. So they collate it from PIB, they collate it from Indian Express, Times of India, and they bring it together. So if you spend your time reading the Hindu and a very important news came in the Indian Express, then you're obviously going to miss it if you're not going to do that. So I did that, and in the end, near my exam, I also referred to Vision IAS's PT365 or the monthly compilations that they have. If you do 2 sources, your current affairs should be covered. Okay? That was all of your questions, right? Yeah. We had one more.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name is Surya, and it's a very great privilege to stand before
Same
you.
here.
And I just wanted to ask, you're standing here because you have succeeded right now. But before that, there would have been so many losses, so many failures,
So many.
which we won't know and which you would only know. I just would like to know what were the methods or things that you improvised by yourself, because being a female and a daughter and a wife, it takes a really hard time to normally live.
Do what?
Normally live.
Normally,
happy.
oh yes.
So I would just like to know, what were the things that you took by yourself and tried to improvise day by day and said that I could do this and I can do this.
Okay. What's your name?
Surya.
Surya. Nice name. Okay. So, first of all, I have a wonderful husband. He'll be so happy because he was mentioning that you should probably talk about your amazing husband somewhere in the talk, because he didn't figure out in my whole speech. So he was like, don't you think that he should mention my name? And so I think he's going to say thanks to Surya because he mentioned about this. I have a wonderful husband, and I think it doesn't work without a support system. So I am a wife, but then I also have somebody who not only expects a lot, doesn't expect a lot of things from me. He actually supported me in this whole thing. Sometimes he did not. My husband was the first person to actually raise doubts on the question that why do you want to become an IAS if you're already an orthodontist? So I've had a lot of heated debates with my husband, but this is where being stubborn comes in. I cannot tell you how many times I've faced implicit comments on the fact that it's been 6 years to my marriage and I don't have a child. I don't want to have a child, right? I am somebody like that, and I don't see why females should not have the right to reproduce. And that's not even the point, I might make that decision later in my life, but this is my decision. So in an Indian society, it does become a lot of problem. In fact, 2 years back, I finally decided to actually go through with my life, go on and keep preparing simultaneously. So it was my husband who actually came and told me that this is not going to work out. I mean, if you are, I think in a relationship, if two people are personally happy doing what they are doing in their lives, then that's a good relationship, because they are personally satisfied in their lives. Also works similarly for parents and children. If parents are happy doing what they are doing and they let children be happy in what they are doing, then they have a good sound relationship. In fact, my husband wanted to do music from a very long time. So last year we decided that he is going to do music. Right? So I said, if I have the freedom to do what I am doing in life, why don't you? My husband left his job last year. He went to Chennai to the A. Rahman Academy. He passed the audition, and this year he graduated from KM Conservatory. It's a music school. Now he'll be going into work again, yes, but that is what we both decided, that we are going to do what we really want to do. And yes, as you said, that today I am successful. I have a lot of good stories to share. Otherwise, nobody would have ever known that there is a husband and wife who actually decided to do something with their lives. Failure is not as glorious as success, thanks to a narrow definition of success. As far as improvisation is concerned, I have always believed that I'm a very stubborn person. I don't give in to people just because they tell me to give in. So one quality, as I said, stubbornness is very underrated. Sometimes you have to be like, damn the world, I don't care. Right? And I think a lot of public servants have to be that way. Because if you think that something is good for somebody, you cannot let personal interests or public opinion divert you from what you really want to do in life. So the first thing is that, of course, all said and done, I can say that I was stubborn and I wanted to do this and all that. Behind everything, the biggest improvisation that you can do in life is hard work. Nothing beats hard work. I know that there are a lot of people who were more talented than me when I started. There were a lot of people who are into public administration optionals, and they've done graduations. I mean, my graduation subject was not psychology. I had to study an optional that was completely different from my graduation subject. And there was a lot of doubt, but I was persistent. I did not leave it. And in my mind, it was like, fine, if it doesn't work, I'll learn whatever came along with it and I'll move on with my life. So that was fine. So there's always an opportunity cost. I'm sure all of you know opportunity cost because you studied economics. There is always an opportunity cost in life, not only for me, for anybody who's doing something. So tomorrow if you decide on doing something apart from international business, you are losing a year of job, the money, and your career curve goes in a different direction. So all of you agree with me, right? So your career curve goes in a different direction, and when you come back, you're not the same person, you don't have the same opportunities. So everything has an opportunity cost. But if you are stubborn, and if you really want to do this, if you really want to make it big, and you really want to do this, then you will have to supplement it A, with hard work, B, with taking out the fear of failure. I mean, my trick is, I always think what's the worst possible that will happen. So I thought, what is the worst possible thing that will happen? I'll not clear it. For the 4 times in row, I had 4 attempts. And I thought, fine, 4 attempts, I'll not clear prelims. So I imagined in my mind, what would that look like? That I wake up one day, it's my 4th attempt, result comes, and I have not cleared prelims. So what? I'm sure all of you have at least 2-3 people around you who support you. No matter what you do, no matter whether you succeed or fail. I'm sure you have some people around you who tell you that you are an amazing person, and it doesn't matter what you do in life, that it is immaterial of that. For a lot of people, it's their parents, right? So if you imagine that, and you think that it doesn't matter at all whether I succeed or fail, then I'm telling you it becomes very easy, very, very easy. But ultimately, it's your mind. A, hard work. B, I think I'm stressing on this again and again because distraction is a very big problem in today's world. We get distracted by basically everything. Nowadays, Facebook just autoplays video there. I get so irritated. I'm just scrolling and then they just want us to waste our time. It's like yesterday I was just scrolling and some video of some lady saying motivational things came and I actually sat down and watched it. Now I'm completely guilty. So I can afford to waste my time. But you know, it's like if you don't want to buy a packet of, if you don't want to become fat, you don't buy a packet of chips, right? So if you don't want to waste your time, don't be on Facebook. Okay, so you have to be a little, what I call, ruthless with yourself. That's my improvisation. I trouble myself. I'm very disciplined with myself. I'm very, very disciplined. If I decide that I have to do something, then no phone, no laptop, nothing. I will do what I have to do. Okay, so that's something that helps.